There we
Hola,
are.
we're live. What Embargo, episode Veintidós.
Is that
2 of the
22?
22, Mo's.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
22. Holla, holla, holla. So what's going on, man? How are your teeth? The lack thereof.
They hurt.
I bet, dude, it sucked.
Oh, dude, it's completely brutal. It's absolutely, yeah,
It's not fun.
terrible. I haven't been able to eat. I tried to eat a quesadilla today, and it didn't go very well. So the only things I have been able to eat are, besides like protein shakes and milkshakes, are macaroni and cheese, because I can just like stick it in the front of my mouth and inhale it straight back and just suck it back without chewing it.
Just suck on the noodle, baby. Suck on the noodle.
And I ate pancakes this morning. It was pretty bomb. So.
Really? I had oatmeal. When mine was.
Ooh, that sounds good. I could probably eat oatmeal. Well, I don't know. I mean, I can't get anything stuck in the back, dude, and like it's weird. It sucks.
Did they give you Didn't they give you a little syringe thing to squirt the holes?
They're gonna give me one next week when I go back. So, because I have like they had to stuff them full of crap, and they don't want to mess with that stuff. So.
Yeah,
They told me to come back and they would give me the little squirter thing. So hopefully I can smoke a cigar next week. In the meantime, I am enjoying this fine Nickbacks.
Pipe? Oh, what is that?
It's electronic.
Is that a vapor? Oh, really?
Dude, gotta get my nicotine somehow, dude. I broke down yesterday. I broke down yesterday and was like, all right, I can do this. This won't bother my mouth. So I'm smoking a Nick Max. I'm gonna post it on. I'm gonna post a picture on Instagram and tag it
What
up.
embargo that? What embargo that shit?
What embargo that shit?
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, because as I said earlier, 50 years ago today, the man Winston Churchill passed.
Yeah, what are you smoking? A Churchill?
I am smoking the H. Sir Winston.
Oh,
And you know, it's one of those. It's a debate. You know, I saw some people. They're like, I saw this thing. Someone says, in honor of Churchill, I'm smoking a Cohiba Escondido. I'm like, really? Like, I don't think he'd be down with that shit. So. No. That's all Cuban communistic shit.
Well, some people have no taste, so you know.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those. It was for me. It was between a Sir Winston and RYJ, so I went with Sir Winston.
Okay.
But there's a new Churchill on the market, so.
Yes, we're going to talk about it. So last week 2 weeks ago we were drunk. This week, the last episode you got what embargo on booze. This week you get what embargo on pills.
Booze and the pills.
Oh man, that cigar was so good, bro.
So good, man.
Need some fish playing in the background. Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah.
We won't go that far. We won't go that far. But if we can find Cuban Cheech and Chong and bring them on here, that would be pretty hilarious. Yeah. If we can find a Cuban guy named Cheech, that would be awesome.
Yeah, we'll have to find the Cheech. It'll be, we could do the little, right now it's just a little Jefferson airplane that just keeps coming to mind. Little white rabbit. Anyway.
Yeah, somewhere Dave Burke is listening going, yes, they're equating music to cigars.
An airplane, man. Exactly.
Shout out
That's
to Dave.
$2. Here we go.
So anyways, we are here today to talk about, I guess the big hot thing is, the hot topic this week is the new Habanos release. And technically, even though some news outlets reported this this week as it was some kind of new release, they were released in December of last year. At least the news press release was in December of last year, so it's not like this is some kind of new press release or anything. But the pre-releases are starting to, the pre-orders, I guess, are now starting to be taken, and the cigars are starting to ship. But they are what? Tell us what they are, Big Tuna.
They are the Habanos Veintidós, which is basically, it's the best thing I can think of to describe this is because it's not a new brand. It's almost like additional vitolas that are very special and limited. They don't say how limited, and they don't really get into much information in terms of limited nature. But what this is Habanos has decided to release 2 cigars, 2 Habanos, a Montecristo Churchill, and then a Romeo y Julieta Pyramides, which were rolled, well, as they said, some of them were rolled 5 years ago, some of them are old, but they've been maturing and aging in Habana the correct way. They emphasize the correct way in this press release, which is like, all you other people are just doing it wrong. So these have been aging in Habana for at least 5 years, and they're also unique sizes to the brands of Montecristo and Romeo. So they're making a big deal about it. They're saying they're limited, but that's the big deal. So it's these old cigars in these unique sizes, which are cool sizes. The Montecristo Churchill sounds pretty cool.
Well, I'm looking up to see what anahados means.
It's like a combination of aged Habana. It's
a masculine
yeah
version of.
Pretty made up.
I don't know what the hell it means. We need somebody on here who knows Spanish, man.
Dude, I just kind of gave you a little breakdown of it. But either way,
I don't know.
That's kind of what I'm talking about. But
yeah, so basically, they would have had to have started doing this in what? If they said they've been aged 5 to 8 years, so they would have been having to start doing this in. Well, no, technically, if it was 8 years and they announced it in December, I mean that would have been like 2006.
I mean, they would have started this program at least back in 2006.
And if there's only 2 releases, why would they say 5 to 8 years? Were they only rolling like certain batches,
a year,
you know, a year or what? And standing like, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I laughed because some folks that on one of the private boards I'm on, and I've seen it on another board too. Somebody said, yeah, they're just leftover like Romeos that they put Monty Vans on and said, okay, we'll age these for 5 years, or you know.
It's kind of they swapped them. Now, here's the question I have: Have you looked up the price?
Well, the only thing I've seen is I've seen them on LCDHs for like 450 euros or something like that. I want to say.
Okay, but
430 euros.
I found the price from an LCDH in London. So you're thinking England. Higher taxes, it's going to be a higher price. It always is.
Yeah.
Anytime you look at something coming out of England, LCDH, you're thinking, okay, so these are unique sizes. Never been done. Not on the market. This is something that was rolled 5 years ago. This is Habanos. What would you say the price is? Just off the top of your head. For
$20.
Really? Because I look at it as, you know, you have to look at like some of these even limitadas, which, if you think about it, are younger than these. These things are, in reality, much more matured and aged. And when I look at that, I'm thinking, okay, these have got to be at least $50-something minimum, a stick.
Really?
That's what I think. But in London, the Romeo torpedoes, they're going for like $32 a cigar.
Yeah, I want to say, because I
What cat?
give Sorry, I'm slow. I gave a shout out to LCDH Gnocchi, and I think
Yeah.
that's how you say it, in Belgium.
Hmm.
This guy over there, Frederick, is a really, really respected dude in the world of Habanos, and I want to say he had them per box in the 450-ish range, and given the euro is trading pretty accurately with the dollar these days, I mean, it's probably a $20 stick, and it's weird because they didn't really give us any information on what kind of tobacco they have or what kind of tobacco they're using. So are they just using regular tobacco, or are there any kind of new blends, or any of those kinds of things? And why would this have been done for 5 to 8 years and never any inkling of a hint that it was going on? Did it makes me wonder. I can see where it could have been done, where some guys were just like, yeah, we're rolling these and we're just putting them away for a project and not talking about it, and they would have to be like super secretive about it. You know what I
It's
mean? And which doesn't make sense in Cuba.
no, and it's like, why wasn't this even like announced at a Habanos festival? That's that's where, I mean, it's, yeah.
Well,
Am I going to probably try to get?
here's
Yeah, I'll
where I
get
will
some.
say here's where I will say it makes sense that they were forward thinking then, because in 2005 was really when they started concentrating. That's when the shift came to when they concentrated on aging the tobacco a year, right? Just in general, they started aging tobacco longer. Obviously, in 2002 was when they had to get their heads out of their rear for all the crap they were putting out. Started using the draw testers and all those kinds of things between
Yeah.
2002 and 2005. So it makes sense to me if they had forward-thinking individuals in the brand, um, saying around that time, around 2006, like, hey, let's start testing um, a couple different blends that we're going to make specifically for aging, because before that, culturally, aging was nothing that they gave a shit about in Cuba. I mean, they don't care about
Yeah.
aging anything. It's a me now. I don't want to. I shouldn't say it's a now generation like us, but it's because it's not like that at all. Not like the instant gratification generation. It's the kind of thing that they don't really give a shit about aging
Yeah.
things. Like they're just like, we live now. We live for today, and that's what we do. And so culturally, aging Habanos isn't really a big deal down there, from what I grasp from my friends who have diplomatic connections down there in the government, and then friends who have traveled there. It's just not a big deal, collecting, if you will. They just roll stuff and smoke it. It's everybody else who is really into the collecting side of everything. And so I wouldn't surprise me if somebody was forward thinking enough. I mean, if you look at how what's his name, the guy that designed all the Beheke boxes, and
See,
he did Atabey.
I don't even think Nelson would have anything to do with it. I mean,
No. I don't think Nelson would have anything to do with it by any means. I'm just saying a guy like Nelson. You know what I mean? Nelson really kind of took the packaging and the way everything looked into the next century, if you will, for Habanos. And I wouldn't be surprised if somebody behind the scenes went, "Hey." It would make sense around that time frame for them to start, when they started aging tobaccos and saying, okay, let's age tobaccos for a couple years before we put them in our LEs. Let's age tobaccos a little bit longer before we put them in our LCBH releases, and let's make sure all of our tobacco is aged a little bit longer. It would make sense for somebody to say, hey, let's start making some of these, throw some boxes aside, we'll start aging them for a year or two, see how they turn out, and then next year we'll do it again, and then the next year we'll do it again, and then we'll kind of see where they come along, and maybe in a couple years we'll do something with it. Because it didn't seem. I mean, I remember looking on the website. I'll see if I can find it.
Habanos
I don't remember.
they don't make a big deal about it. I mean,
No.
overall, I mean,
Yeah.
and we have it up on Habanos Critic, and it's just, it's one of those projects to me which is very interesting, because it's like, the boxes are just the regular label boxes. There's nothing special about it. They don't give any limited edition counts or anything along those lines. So it's almost as if they've been doing this, and it's almost, I want to ask if this is kind of like a La Casa del Habano kind of a deal, those exclusives, and the fact that they produce a couple of these every year. That's all there are, and then the following year they're doing a little bit more. That's my one question there. And then,
Oh, hey, I'm back.
oh, there you go. My second question, Well,
I don't know
you
what
hear
your
my
first question
part?
was.
Oh, my
No,
first
I
part
didn't. I was talking, and my internet decided to stop.
my first question would be, A, what are they just producing a couple of these, so many boxes a year, and then they're doing that every year, and that's how they're doing it. It's almost like LCPH releases, and then following up on that, when are they going to start adding more brands? Because they're not going to just leave it to Monty and Romeo. We're going to get a Vargas, we're going to get an HM, we're going to get a Cohiba, which is going to be like $200,000.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know.
I want a Jose Piedra that was rolled 5 years
Oh, well, yeah. That would be interesting. I mean, I've heard some people speak highly of that stuff.
To me, it's one of those things. Like, listen, I'm going to try it out. I'm going to work to try them out. I'd be interested how they are. You just keep popping in and out, man.
I know, it's ridiculous, dude.
But
I've heard it's AT&T in my area, so AT&T can kiss my ass.
there you go. I don't know. To me, it's one of those things. A little. I don't know. It's not sketchy. It's just one of those things. I don't know. I'm not uber excited about them. I think there's bigger and better.
But I think a lot of people are real skeptical about it so far. I mean, it seems like most people that I've talked to are extremely skeptical. Everybody says the Romeo sucks. I haven't got any feedback on the Monty yet. I'm curious to see, because we don't know what quality tobacco they put it in. I definitely will try it out. And the aging has already been done for you to a degree, so you would think that they should be pretty damn good by about then, if it's a good blend. But if it's not a good blend, just like any other cigar from any other country, it's going to stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, it's...
So it makes me wonder if they tweaked the blends thinking that, oh, this kind of blend will age better, not having a clue that their normal stuff ages amazingly, because they don't do that.
You would have... Yeah, it's almost like, let's go talk to... let's go talk to AJ Patel in London. There's a classic, very visible person. How's this age? I mean, it's almost like just blend a Monte Cristo in that Churchill Vitola and then let it age for 5 years. Under those circumstances, it should smoke great.
Yeah. You would think.
Yeah, you'd think. But then at the same time, I just don't understand why that these things have been sitting around for 5 years and that nothing's been talked about. Nothing's been...
Yeah, that's what's kind of sketchy. So it definitely begs the question of, did they reban something? And I think it'll really, the Romeo, it'll be tough, because Romeos seem to be, there's some variance across the board, but Monty there's no variance in Monty. I mean, there's variance in degrees of Monty, but every Monte Cristo you smoke has the Monte Cristo flavor.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So
you'll be able to pick up that Monty profile.
Yeah, so I would be amazed if these don't have that flavor, and if they don't, then why? And that would raise my suspicions. You know what I mean? I'm not surprised people hate the Romeo, because people hate Romeo.
Oh, yeah.
That's one brand that everybody just seems to hate, but then they hate on them, but then they'll be like, oh, but I love the short Churchill, or but I love the wide Churchill, oh, but I love the regular Churchill, or I love the Castores, or, it's like whatever. It's one of those brands that gets a lot of hate, and I think it's just because it's a global brand. It's not Cohiba,
I mean,
so who knows?
The best thing in my opinion, I'm interested in smoking the Monte Churchill, and the best thing I can do is, okay, smoke this side by side with, some Monte number 2s I have from 07 and 08. So they smoke. I mean, in technicality, they should smoke pretty darn simple. I mean, yes.
What would be interesting, now that you say that, what would be interesting is to find if the box, find the box and factory code, and then find matching Montes and Romeos from that, and see if the tobacco tastes similar.
And see, they said that they had the box codes on the bottom so you can verify that it was done, but it's like, They just said these things have been aging in cedar and not in boxes.
No, I thought they said they aged them in the boxes.
Oh, I thought they said they were aging. I'll need to reread it. Maybe they did age them in the boxes. From my understanding, I thought they were just aging them in an aging room.
From what I gathered, they sealed the boxes. They sealed the boxes and aged them. I mean, I don't know if they put the stamps and everything on. And then before they released them, they open them up again, inspect and make sure all the cigars are good, and then they stamp it with another stamp like Reposado or something that says it's been looked at again.
Yeah.
So basically, it has the original date code and factory code stamped on the box, and then another stamp that says that it's been looked at again.
So this
all the cigars have been checked.
This secondary ban was applied, let's say 08 in 2008. So we should expect to see a 2008 quality ban.
Yeah. No, oh, that's another thing with the Monties, huh? I wonder if the band will be the old band.
That's
right.
That's what I'm curious about.
That's a really good thing to bring up, because if they show up with the new band, with the imprinted band that wasn't around, what was it around in 08 or not? I can't remember. Was it on the Sublime?
Which one?
The Monty Sublime 08? Did it have the new band? Yeah, they did, didn't it?
I mean, it's a fairly newer band. I think it was. I mean, but it's one of these things. It's look at the bands. I'm interested about the secondary band, because I doubt they were applying the secondary band. To me, it's just there's so many factors in here which Habanos is not releasing, which they usually do.
Well, what's interesting too is if you've seen a lot. It seems like lately in the last year or two, a lot of these cigars are popping up with a secondary band that says aged and then has a year on it.
Yeah,
right?
2000.
If you looked at the review I did on the Trinidad from that I got from LCDH Naki, it had the secondary band aged 2010, and we're seeing a lot of those pop up more and more and more, and I'm assuming that those bands are applied by Habanos or they're applied by an LCDH, one of the two. So maybe this aging thing has been going on for a while, and they're starting to kind of trickle it out to see how it does. Maybe they trickled out some of these aged boxes to see how they did on the market before they went ahead and said, okay, let's do this Anahados and see how that does, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've seen that secondary age band, but, the only places where I've seen that secondary age band being applied, and maybe I'm completely wrong here, is the Netherlands area. It's Belgium, Netherlands, all that stuff area. So I'm wondering if it's almost the LCDHs in that area are recognizing the age product that they have.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. That would actually be an interesting question. I'll shoot an email over to Frederick and see what he says, because I'd be interested to see what he thinks about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a guy.
Get his take.
Another guy up in Eindhoven. I'll reach out to him. So it's one of those things. Yeah, I'm gonna smoke some. The prices for them, it's like, really? Okay, I thought the prices were going to be much higher. That's why I'm like, really? Only like $30 for a Romeo Pyramades? Like, I mean, yeah, it's high, but it's not as high as I was expecting. And that's British price.
Yeah.
With the ridiculous taxes, which makes it even lower.
Yeah. Interesting.
But anyway, we'll come back to them guys.
Oh yeah, let me show some pictures of them, man.
Yeah, show some
pictures. I have pictures on my ever so crappy PowerPoints that I have to use because Google Hangouts sucks.
You got some photos of the oil de Nicaraguas.
So here's shut up. Steve even called me out on that from the last show.
Steve was the one who reminded me of it. I was so drunk I forgot about it. Steve remembered.
So here's a picture of the Monty, and I mean it kind of looks like the Monty has the new band on it. I mean, which is interesting. Which would have had to been a 2008 band. I believe that's when that was released.
Yeah,
and they've got the little Anahados tag in there, and here's
Yeah,
the Romeo. Yeah, the Romeo looks.
Look at the quality of the bands.
Yeah, they look really nice.
Yeah.
Of course, this is the cigars that they pulled for the photo shoot. So of course they're going to look a little nicer, but.
That shit. That shit.
Yeah, you want? Okay, I'm going to show you something cool. Check this out. We're going to transition now. So here is a wonderful example of Cuba being Cuba that I've never seen before, and a gentleman who's a insane collector that I just randomly we got introduced to each other on the internet, and he sent me this picture the other day, and I asked him if I could use it. He said sure. So I'm not going to say where I got it from, but check this out. Here's a box of Partagas. Okay, look at this label right here. Okay.
What's it say?
Tabacuba. I can't remember what the rest of it says. I'll cut it up in a second. But here's the main thing. The warranty sticker is.
Look at that.
Right?
Screw Habanos.
Like, the warranty sticker is put over here. I've never seen anything like that before. And apparently the box checked out, as far as the code matched what the box was supposed to be. And it it is what it is, so it's legit.
Nice quality control.
Yeah. So it was that was one of those Cuba being Cuba things that I've never seen before. So unfortunately, in the world of searching for fakes and looking at fakes and trying to figure out if stuff is real or not, man, there's just so many terrible ones out there, and to see weird stuff like this just makes you go, well, sometimes the guys in Cuba just don't give a shit, and they do stuff like this and go, whatever.
I've seen shit fucked up on non-Cuban stuff. I mean, I've seen plenty of shit fucked up on non-Cuban. I remember
of course.
The best was Casada, the coup d'etats. Remember they had the Molotov and then the Daga and then the howitzer. Well, my retailer he got the Dagas, he got those Salomones, but every single one of them had the Casada howitzer.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and some of them were upside down. And I told Casada about this. I said, hey, what? I said, whoopsies. And they're like, is it just that box? I was like, nope, it's every box. I mean,
and then
it happens.
And here's another great, just amazing picture that I think is awesome. So 2 weeks ago, we were flaming people, and one of the I didn't say the name of the publication, but one of the publications who I was flaming, like all pissed off about. I didn't have this picture last week, otherwise I would have shown it because I forgot to do it. But here's a picture of their Cuban cohibas that they used in their article. Can you see that? Is that on my screen?
You gotta move your little shares.
Hold on.
You gotta put.
Okay. Yeah, hold on.
I think
okay, you see it now. I didn't show this last week, but what's wrong with this picture?
Man.
Here's an article about them telling us how Cuban cigars suck and blah 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 blah, and their picture of a Cuban is fake.
That was in another one. That was in another one. Yeah, there's the 4 squares.
Yeah, there's the 4 squares. So it was like, are you kidding me? Come on, you morons.
Wasn't there another one though that you showed me? I swear, I swear, I thought I saw another one.
There may have been. I don't know. Hold on. Let me see what else I have. I have another one too, and this is going to kind of go on a little diatribe for people to just kind of go off for a bit and give them a lecture. But
Jared was commenting what I said on the last box. Says maybe a box.
What's that?
He said maybe a box dude that was silently acting out against Habanos. Seriously, all the Habanos shits, they're all about Tabacuba. They're like, fuck Habanos. Fucking imperialistic government.
So here's something that I want to a point that I want to tell people, especially since we're having a show about anahados, and there's limiteds and talking about limited stuff like this. So oftentimes people don't like being told that their cigars are fake. And especially when they've spent a lot of money on them and they've had them for years and they've collected them and whatnot, and they have these limited edition cigars, they really don't like being told that they're fake. And I totally get it. But I'll tell them that they're fake because I think people need to know, and I don't think it's right that people get ripped off, and I don't think they should be buying. They need to know what they're buying.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's I don't want to say it's our job to educate people, but this show is founded on educating people what's out there and what not to buy. And so one thing that I tell people, because in America we're all about price. They want the best price, and what's the guaranteed lowest price, and do I have price protection, and do I have a 30-day money-back guarantee, and all this kind of crap. And when it comes to this kind of thing, and you're talking about fine tobaccos in the world of Grand Reservas, the world of limited editions, of regionals and these kinds of things, that's where there's a lot of money to be made, and so there's a lot of fakes to be had as well. And so to me, and this goes across the board with anything Habanos related, know your vendor, because if you don't know your vendor and you don't know that your vendor is trusted, then chances are you're going to get fake stuff. And when it comes to the higher end edition limitadas, like for instance, the Mexico Conde releases, right? The Conde 109 and the 54 or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Like those were big fakes. A lot of those were fake because they're such amazing cigars and they have such a high reputation. People love them. So there's people faking, and I've seen really, really good fakes of them, but they weren't legit. The Cohiba Sublimes.
Yep.
That's another one that's faked. The Monty Sublimes, the Grand Reservas specifically. There was, on a forum that I'm on, there was an issue with some Partagas Grand Reservas where the bands looked like they had been put back on. They had fingerprints on them, and they were put on really, really bad. So it was almost like somebody had bought a box of Lusitanias and put the Edition Limitada or the Grand Reserva bands on them. You know what I mean? And replace the cigars.
Jeez.
So, and when it all came out, and nobody verified whether or not these cigars were legit or not, and I don't want to say that they weren't legit by any means, because I don't think that. The situation was really interesting, to be honest. It was one of the more interesting situations that I've seen. But the reality is that they came from a gray market vendor and not an LCDH. And anytime, there was a lot of Monty Grand Reservas fakes that got handled through a very reputable dealer. I'm not going to say the name of the dealer, but if you do your research, you can find out. It was a very controversial subject. And the main thing about either of these two dealers that people believe in and people believe would never rip them off, they are not LCDHs, period. So if I can give anybody a recommendation, when you're buying cigars like that, buy them from an LCDH. Pay the extra money. If you really want to be a baller and you want to smoke Grand Reservas, and you're going to be a bitch about paying $100 a stick versus $80 a stick, then you shouldn't be smoking that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because in the grand scheme of things, if you want to make sure that you have absolutely legit product, that's what you do. And so, anyways, here's a picture of one that came up, and I'll let you tell me what you see wrong with it. Is that on my screen now? Can you see it?
Yeah. The Cohiba.
So this is a Cohiba Edition Limitada 2004, right? What's the first thing you see wrong with it?
I gotta friggin' get right on top of the damn. I'm not gonna lie to you, I can't see clearly. I'm friggin' blind as a bat.
Okay.
Well, the squares are friggin' terrible.
There's 4 rows of squares.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And regardless of whatever else you want to say about it, you could say that the edition limitadas are kind of funky and the ink's running on them. Whatever, I've seen that on legit ones.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen
there's definitely issues with the wrapper not looking like Cuban wrapper, and it's too dark to be Cuban wrapper, and you might there's all sorts of things you could question about it. But at the end of the day, when you look at this cigar and you see that it has 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4. There has never been a Cohiba release where they did 4 rows like that with that band. It doesn't exist. So if you buy those cigars and you think they're real and you hold on to them for 10 years and you think they're legitimate and you can't grasp the fact that Cohiba never made a 4-dot bar like that, then you shouldn't be buying these kinds of cigars. You know what I mean? And to me, this was one where when I saw these immediately, I mean, I wasn't the only one who thought they were fake. A bunch of people were like, yeah, dude, those are fake. And the guy freaked out and was really upset. And I get it. I mean, I'd be pissed off too because he probably spent a ton of money on it. But at the end of the day, it was kind of like, dude, how can you question the authenticity when the band is as fake as you can get it? I mean, there's no such thing. They don't exist. So, and it really sucked. I felt bad for the guy because this wasn't the only one he had. He had several different types of limited edition Cohibas and Monties. And I mean, I could look at all of them immediately and say that's not Cuban wrapper, And at the end of the day, the guy was pissed off which I understand, but he thought we were all morons, and I was just kind of like, yeah, well, I'm going to use you as a great, wonderful example on my show without telling him that. And because it's I don't know. I figured I would take it as a learning experience, not for me, but for other people to just say, look, if you're going to buy some Cohiba Sublimes and you want to spend the dough on that, that's a $100 cigar, one of the best cigars ever made, make sure you know who you are getting it from. And if it's not an LCDH, you best damn well make sure that you have some kind of recourse or that they got it from an LCDH, because otherwise, chances of it being a fake box is very, very high. You know what I mean?
Right. It's just brutal.
So I guess that's my public service announcement. So, I don't know. Say what you're gonna say.
It's one of those things. It makes me not want to buy Cohibas.
Yeah.
Because it's just like crap, man. That's the shit you deal with all the time with that shit. So.
Yeah, I mean, I was just out of the country at my friendly neighborhood local LCDH. I went ahead and surfed over to the Australia and got a box, and while I was over there, and for $100, and I was just sitting there looking at them, and even in these ones, I know that they're legit. I know the vendor, and I know that it was a good neighborhood LCDH. And at the end of the day, you could still look at it and go, well, if I wanted to be nitpicky, I could say like this little row might be off, and maybe that little row might be off, and it's funky. It's funky when you're dealing with Cohiba specifically.
Oh, yeah,
it's a fine line.
They just set themselves up with, Habanos. It's just they've set themselves up with the brand, and you can tell they're trying to work to address it.
Yeah, well, they have the new bands. They have the new bands, which will be really interesting to see if the new bands come out. Actually, you know what?
Someone actually, I already saw someone said someone already showed me the fake one of the new ones.
Really?
I swear I saw on Instagram. They're like, oh, already being fake. Which, if that's happening, it's like, there you go. I'm not surprised.
Well, let me see if I can find. I saw a new fake money as well. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I can't remember. Hold up.
Jared said, I have some awesome LE 2016s I got before anyone else. I know, man. Jared, I've seen a couple. Gosh, what was it? A couple years ago, I saw LE like 2015, and I was like, man, we're smoking pre-releases. What is with these babies?
I don't know if I can find it, but I did see recently. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I may know where I can find it. Let me see.
By the way, my Boulevard Libertadores beer codes here.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my gosh, they're gorgeous.
Are they?
Oh, they're just damn beautiful.
Yeah, I that's one of those. It's one of those releases where the size, knowing that it's a Sublime size, if I had the money, I would just totally be like, okay, it's time to like go deep on this, because the Sublime size just seems to always do well. You know what I mean? It just doesn't matter what it is. It always seems to do well.
I've honestly
So
agree with that, man. They do well with big ring gauges.
So
they do well with small ring gauges.
So it makes me wonder if I should have grabbed a few to lay down. It's just they're monetarily they're a little up there,
Well, I have all the LCDHs, so we can do a little paneling. The Oyas, I'm interested in the Oyas.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had the Lux or whatever it is. Oya Deluxe.
Yeah, I should. That one seems like it should be pretty good too, from what I've heard.
The Royal Robustos are good. So.
Yeah. So let's transition now into the last part of our segment, because we were going to talk about. I've got to make sure and get out by 7 tonight, so I've got 18 minutes left to go. But we wanted to talk about.
Say fuck Cuba tobacco. Yeah, let's go to the farms, man.
Let's talk about the farmers, the vaqueros, if you will. So last week we were going to do this show we were going to do this topic months ago, and it just kept getting put off for whatever reason. Other things came up, but we wanted to highlight Hector Luis Prieto, and it made sense to do it the week after we did our show on our top fives, because I gave Prieto my #1 cigar of the year, and I know you enjoyed it when you smoked it.
Oh, they're great stick. Awesome.
That was one of those that just floored me the second I had it, and I've been a fan ever since. And so there's some information out there that you can find if you go on YouTube and you go on Cigar Aficionado, and you can do a little research about this guy. This guy he's kind of like the modern day Robena, and just so people know, his father was a farmer as well, and his father was one of the farmers that was growing the legendary Criollo in the 70s that made some of the most fantastic tobacco on earth. And unfortunately, all those seeds kind of got blasted in the 80s with the blue mold issues, and so they had to redo all the seeds. And so nowadays, the seed that you have that's really popular in Nicaragua and the Dominican is the 99 Corojo and the 98 Criollo seed, and you'll hear a lot about Placencia using those tobaccos and Casa Fernandez using those tobaccos. And so, anyways, it was interesting to see that he uses 98 Criollo as his wrapper, and speaks really highly of it. He tends to think that in his area the Corojo is not as good, but it's not bad for a binder. But he uses Havana 92 sun-grown for his filler, and he does all of his wrappers shade-grown. And what's interesting, and I can't confirm this, but at least I've saw there's several videos out there of people who tour his farm. But it seems to me like a lot of his shade-grown stuff is actually grown in the shade, natural shade of trees, and just kind of the valley that he's in, because there's no mountains or anything around him. He's just in a river valley, and he's built like these crazy. He's got like all these little rivers and creeks running through everything, and he's got all of his own irrigation, that he's built. And so when it rains and the tornado season comes in and it floods, like all this just silt and mineral goes everywhere. And he specifically said there's one riverbed where he has all this tobacco at. It's the best tobacco because it's all this Havana 92 sun grown, and it has all these minerals and everything, and from the rain and the floods, and it's just really interesting listening to him talk. But the big part about this guy is he was elected to Parliament recently, and I don't exactly know what his position is in Parliament, but if you watch the interviews, he's a farmer. He's real soft-spoken, and he doesn't really seem like a limelight kind of guy. The guys that I know that have relationships with him say that he's not like a Carlito where he's up in everybody's face, or like Hiroshi, you know, for example, who Hiroshi's really wants to go shake everybody's hand and meet everybody. He's more kind of just sit in the back. He's a quiet farmer. So I found it interesting to find that he got elected to Parliament, because that means that he's going to be, obviously, he's going to have a little bit more power than most of your, you know, people in the industry down there. So, anyways, the big thing about this guy is he's using computers to control his curing barns, to control RH temperature, and all those kinds of things. So he's got like the technology in curing leaf that the old school guys aren't necessarily doing. That kind of put him up above everybody else. You know, he's got the next generation going on where he's making sure the temperature in all of his polones are perfect, RH is perfect, so that he's curing all this tobacco. But then he's also an old school farmer and has all these crazy, like, you know, agro ways of growing tobacco that aren't done on the other plantations, where you go to another plantation, it's like, here's a field of tobacco, here's a field of tobacco, here's a field of tobacco. You go to his farm and it's like you're walking around like creeks and riverbeds, and there's tobacco growing underneath these trees over here and those trees over there, and then there's like some over here and some over there, and
it's a lot of patches. The photos and videos seen, it's a lot of small patches here and there throughout, surrounded by water and natural shade.
It's not like you see a farm. It's not like what you would envision a farm. It's like this guy's like a guerrilla farmer. You know, he's just growing everywhere. And the biggest takeaway from, there's a video that J.J. Fox did, an interview that J.J. Fox did, and the biggest takeaway I got from him was when they asked him, and it seems like he's had this question asked a million times, you know, why is Cuban tobacco the best? And he says it's because the soil is so sandy that it stresses the plant out. So he's like, you know, the soils in Nicaragua and Dominican are much more fertile, and they're much richer. There's volcanic ash and whatnot, and there's mountain ranges and all this. So we don't have any of that. We have sand. So that stress that is put on the plant forces the plant to work a little bit harder to grow, and as a result, it's pushing out those oils. It's kind of like wine. Stressed grapes are going to have a little bit more pungent flavor to it. And in this instance, that's kind of what he says is the reason why Cuban tobacco is better, is because not necessarily the soil is better, it's the soil is not as good. And that's why, which is what makes the soil good, if you will. You know? And I thought that was really, really interesting. And he also went on to say that he doesn't use chemical fertilizers at all. He uses manure, you know, corn, natural compost that they make up to fertilize everything. And I know Hiroshi is real big on that as well. I know he uses peanut shells, and I've heard a couple different things that Hiroshi does for natural fertilization, which I find very, very interesting. You know, because these guys, they are old school farmers, and they immediately, when you talk about chemicals, they're just kind of like, no, you know, they would never do that. So I'm assuming that the cigars that we smoked were Criollo 98 and Havana 92.
You could taste that Criollo.
Really taste
that Criollo. I'm gonna do a share screen really quick, just because, you know, Catfish and I were talking about tobacco fields. Look, I'm gonna show you a tobacco field in Nicaragua. This is one that we went out. That is not what the farms of Actor look like.
No.
Like, that is just massive tobacco field right there.
Yeah. And he makes a point to say, 99 Corojo in Nicaragua will grow as tall as you want it and as big as you want it, and it'll grow far and wide. He's like, I try and grow that on my farm and it grows like crap, And you look at his farm and it looks like you're kind of like walking through like a swamp marshland, It doesn't look like. So I'm excited because
Remind me of the backyard moonshiners up in the western area of North Carolina who are growing tobacco and making moonshine. That's what it really reminds me of.
Yeah, seriously. Speaking of which, I totally got a bottle of moonshine from one of the guys on Cigar Cartel, dude. This guy, Richard, yeah, one of the mods, his name's Richard there, and I'm the new guy or whatever, but he sent us all bottles of moonshine, and it's like homemade whiskey, homemade bourbon that he made, unfiltered, so it's all dark and like, just nasty looking, and it's freaking cool. I haven't obviously been able to drink it because I've been on what's it called? Whatever, painkillers and freaking.
I gotta send you
antibiotics, but
I gotta send you a jar of this apple pie moonshine I get up in Virginia. It's tasty as hell.
Yeah, you do. You need to send me that. You need to send me that. Anyways, back on the Prieto bandwagon, if you will.
Those were Churchill's that you sent, right?
No, they were the Corona Gorda. So you got those a while back. You got those a while back, and I remember when you smoked them. I may have only sent you 2. Because I
smoked them. Was like, these are freaking incredible.
Yeah, I think I got 5, and then I got another 25, and I think of the first 5 I smoked, and I went, oh my god, and sent you 2 of the other 4. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they were unbelievable.
Yeah, they were wicked good.
And what's crazy is the guy who rolls them. His name is Miguel, apparently. And I want to give a shout out to Miguel if Miguel ever watches this and somebody translates it for him. Miguel, you roll a damn good cigar, bro. Apparently Miguel was straight up. He's been working on Hector's farm, and he learned how to roll on the farm. He was no training, no training or anything like that, no formal training. He just was rolling on the farm, dude. And apparently, after rolling on the farm for a few years, one of the guys down there, with the connections to the industry, took him to Havana and had him study at one of the cigar factories for 6 months, and gave him formal training, and he ended up becoming a badass. And that's not something that the farm rollers get to do. Those guys don't get to go learn from the best. So somebody like the Robena family, obviously they don't need formal training because their granddad probably taught their all the boys and all the girls how to roll the damn cigars. They probably got granddaughters sitting around rolling cigars all day. But some of these other farmers, they probably don't get that kind of training, if you will. And so for a guy like him to get the chance to go learn in Havana and then go back and work on the farm, apparently he's like the dude. He's one of the dudes there. That's a really big deal. So I definitely want to give him a shout out. Everybody I've talked to, there's another guy on the cartel as well who smoked these cigars, and he said the same thing. He's a high-end collector, and he was very, very impressed with the construction and the flavor.
Every farm roll
it's definitely different.
Every farm roll I've had has been constructed wonderfully.
Weren't those Robenas just constructed ridiculous? Like, I mean, it's a different feel.
They burned incredible.
It's just a different feel. Like, it doesn't feel like a cigar that came from a factory. I don't know how to explain it to people other than like it has this weird, almost kind of feel to it. It's not tight, but it feels tighter than a normal cigar, but it's not. It's a trip.
It's very unique, and you know what? I just reviewed that Julia. It's you can get that Cuban tobacco quality. I mean, you're obviously tasting that tobacco, but there's that nice uniqueness to it, which is it's one of those. It's special. It's not one of those things that's been mainstream or reviewed by a panel of people who said, yes, this is what we want, this is what we're looking for. You can tell where they're going and what they want to do with it. And it's kind of pure, that sense. It's great stick.
Yeah, I was just, I mean, I don't know. I can't, well, all I gotta say is I am hoping that, knock on wood, that I get to go in May and June and meet the Robena family and go to Prieto's farm and sit and hang out with those dudes, because that kind of stuff is those cigars are on another level. The way the flavors that the Figueros roll for themselves are totally different than what you get out of regular production. So it makes me wonder, like this guy is sitting in the cigars that we're smoking from those two guys.
Yeah.
You're smoking like, for instance, these Prieto cigars. Hector's dad was growing legendary tobacco. He's growing legendary tobacco. So we're smoking lineage there. You know what I mean? We're not smoking tobacco that was bought by the buyers and then taken to the factories and sorted and whatnot. Because even those guys will tell you, the farmers will tell you that they have quality A, quality B, quality C. Quality C is going to go into the short filler stuff. Quality B, regular production. Quality A is going to go into the LE, regionals and Bejeques and all those kinds of things. And so, it really, these guys are blending a totally different way than what is being blended at the factories. And their style is completely different.
They know their tobacco. That's the thing, man. They know their tobacco.
It's insane.
They know the farm. They know all the little, where it's coming from and how it pairs with one another and everything.
And what's interesting is, like, for instance, just the fact that the one cigar with the Carlos Fernandez that Logan liked, that even Logan liked, and he's like, yeah, but that doesn't taste like a Cuban cigar. But it is. And you got to look at it and say, well, does that mean once we take away the reins of the government, the Cuban government, and allow some of these guys creatively to express themselves with Cuban tobacco, that we'll get even more flavors out there? That's what, if anything interests me the most, that's what interests me the most. Because I know Upman's always going to taste like Upman, Monty's always going to taste like Monty, Oya's, whatever. I know I'm always going to get that, but the farmers, you're tasting the farm. You're tasting that guy's personal flavors. You know what I mean? And to me, that's really unique, and it's different. And maybe that's why some people freak out about them. I don't know, whatever. But I think if anything, you're getting a very different take. It's almost like, okay, here's a good way to put it. Drew Estate or Tatué, they tend to blend cigars a certain way. When they say a cigar is Cubanesque, it still tastes like a Drew Estate cigar. When Tatué, blends a cigar and they say it's smooth, it still has spice to it. You know what I mean? It still has DPG flavors. And Habanos SA, no matter what cigars they blend, they still kind of tend to go back to this Habanos SA flavor profiles. That they have different ones, don't get me wrong, but they all kind of go back there. And then all of a sudden you get these farm rolls or these custom rolls from rollers, and they don't taste anything like it, but they still taste like Cuban tobacco. Yeah,
it's like Padron, man. You smoke a Padron. I don't care what Padron you smoke. You're going to say, man, this tastes like a Padron. It's that core flavor profile that you're very known for. Every factory has it. But yeah, no, there's something special and very unique with customs, farm rolls, and it's very enjoyable. It's very different. And I think if you're a passionate Habano smoker, having the opportunity to smoke those, I'd want to pick up a bunch of them as well, because it's something different, but it still has that tobacco that you love. But it's just in a whole.
Yeah, it shows the potential, man. Yeah. And I mean, I definitely think it's worth shouting out to those guys, and I hope one day, hopefully, I get to meet Hector and Miguel in a few months. That would be freaking awesome if I get to, and then I can say, hey, when if somebody has a computer, like, we did a show about you and we did reviews on your cigars. Here's what myself and my buddy think of your stuff. Just to kind of give those guys a pat on the back, because they probably don't get that, other than from tourists, because I'm sure the tourists come in and say they love their shit all the time too. So.
Well, they probably get some pretty stupid tourists. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah. Who knows? But anyways, any ideas on our next show? What are we doing for our next show? Do we have any ideas? Do we know?
Man, we don't. We can talk about. I don't know, man. Let's think about some stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. But hey, man, for all those people, we can, the embargo, man, you can bring back $100.
Yeah.
FYI, you cannot order them online for under $100. No. Just telling you that already.
You cannot order them online. It is still illegal to purchase them online. But if you travel to Cuba,
within the certain credential, and I'll tell you one thing, I would bring back $400 worth of rum in a heartbeat. and catfish is gone. So that's basically wrapping it up. If you have any idea who doesn't love stupid tourists, good point, Jared. Everybody loves those stupid tourists, and they get plenty of them. It's all those Canadians like Surgeon. Surgeon is one of those stupid tourists. I hope Surgeon's watching. But if catfish doesn't make a return, that's What Embargo, episode Veintidós, talking about the new limited but not specified Veintidós with the Monte Cristo and Romeo lines. And we talked about some custom mold from Hector Prieto and Robena. Catfish, you're back. I was just closing it down, man. I didn't know when you were going to return.
Did I get back in time?
You were back. I didn't leave, man.
Thanks, man.
I wasn't gonna quit on that. But yeah, man.
It's all good.
It's one of those things. We'll think of a topic. I told people if they have a topic idea, let us know.
Sure. Why not? Why not? Let us know. We're at habanoscritic.com. You can find us on.
It's going to be
find us on.
It's going to be so we should invite Steve, our loyal Massachusetts fan, Steve, and we could talk about deflated footballs and.
Yeah, he's having dinner tonight with his wife for anniversary. So.
Talk about the footballs and plowing the football fields illegally. And
yeah, doing all that illegal substitutions.
That's a question I have for you. This deflated football.
Yeah.
What do you think, man?
I don't give a shit. I don't care. I mean, they found 12 footballs before the first half, and in the first half they didn't. I mean, maybe they threw one touchdown, but all the touchdowns were from, Indianapolis screwing up and sucking balls. Here's the thing. The only reason why it's a thing is because of the past transgressions of New England, in all honesty. I mean, Brad Johnson has come out and said that he did it in the Super Bowl, and I think guys do it all the time. Now, I will say, I bet you I'm 99.9% sure that Tom Brady wanted those balls deflated, and he probably had somebody do it, and he knew all about it. Because if he can't tell the difference between a 12.5-pound football and a 10.5-pound football, he's retarded. But I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't think it influenced the game.
I think they would have beaten the Colts anyway. My question to you is, how many people do you think are going to have a problem with them if they win the Super Bowl with that being an issue?
Oh, huge. It's national news.
It's huge.
It's front page news of regular news networks. Yeah, no, it's front page of all the news networks. It doesn't matter. It's beyond football at this point.
Beyond football. Man, they got law firms and everyone involved. But anyways.
So I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't really care. But I do think they'll get. I think they'll get slammed because of their past, because of the past things that they've done. So. Anyways, I think as I was saying before, you can catch us on habanoscritic.com. We are on broadcast on cigarfederation.com. You can find us on Facebook at What Embargo Habanos Critic, Cess Humidor, Catfish Bakersfield. I'm also on the Cigar Cartel now, so you can find either of us running around Facebook or running around Twitter at Catfish Blues, at Cess Humidor. So if you guys want us to talk about something, or if you want to talk some shit and tell us we don't know what we're talking about, please do, because we're not experts, and we will tell you to fuck off.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end.
That's the end. Dos.
That's the end of 22. Dose. Later.
Like a douche in the night.